Okay, good afternoon, people. So we are here with a guest from US that is a friend of mine and it's a former colleague. We used to work together in MV back in 2006 and 7, and we used to work together during the last 1 year and a half in Corby Studio. Hi, Jeff. Thank you to be here with us.
Hi, Martin. Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás todos? Thank you for having me today. I'm glad to be part of the DAE program to talk a little bit about the different phases of the process here of getting a building from conception through permitting. So we thought we would use one example in the city of Santa Ana in the county of Orange County, just outside of Los Angeles. This is a California project. And we chose this project because it's an existing building, so we call that an adaptive reuse. It was an office and is now being converted to residential. It's also affordable housing, which is for people who have below median incomes or salary. And then we've also got a portion of new construction on the site as well. So we thought this would be a good, interesting one to show. And what we'll do is we'll look at a floor plan and elevation at each of these phases so you can see the level of development that's happening. And we'll briefly then describe each process. So to start, once a client gets a piece of property and decides they want to move forward with a particular project type, they put together their pro forma. They understand they want, in our instance, a multifamily project. So we begin then with what we call entitlement package. It's kind of part of the land acquisition. It's also a coordinated effort with the city to give them an understanding of what we're working on this piece of property, what are our parameters, and are they going to allow it, essentially is what it comes down to. City wants to know what you're doing. You need to make sure you can do it before you invest millions of dollars into this project. So during this phase, that's what we're doing. We're working mostly, your architect and your client have a very close relation, and they're coming up with 2-3 designs. We often see this kind of overlap with schematic design. So some of the things I mentioned here will be an overlap of schematic design, but to make it short, entitlement is the process of getting your concept to the city, getting it approved so you can move forward. So once you leave your entitlement phase, which could take months to years, depending on your property and site assessment, environmental impacts, and so forth, we move into our schematic design phase. So what we're looking at here is a floor plan that comes from the entitlement package. And now we're looking then at our example here is a 100% schematic design. So what we've done in this phase is we've taken that concept we provided to the city, we've added some variations to appease the client, and now we've really made some realities to our floor plans. We're locking in our required clearances, our dimensions. So this is where the project really starts to take shape. You got to make sure you've gone through all of your city code reviews. Do I have proper clearances between buildings, at my kitchen, in my units, at my stairs, at my doors, so on and so forth. This is also a portion here. What we're looking at is this is the central area. You have to start working out the progression of entry. How do you lease these units, and so forth. So what we can also look at as we scroll through the set towards the elevations, you'll see kind of the level of development that we'll see in the exterior documentation of the building. So
should I move, Jeff? Sorry, should I move to which number to see the exterior elevations?
We should look then at the A300 series.
A300, all right.
Yes. So as we scroll through it, you'll see the level of development is a 4-story building. We document each floor. And I think you've passed them already, Martin.
Okay, okay.
if you get into like the late 20s, early 20s. So what we're looking at this elevation is the new construction of the tenant improvement. But what we're looking at, I think just importantly, is what I wanted to show you is what we're identifying at this early stage is, identifying materials, identifying what we want the exterior to look like. We're giving an indicator of, the intent as we move forward. So what we start working out then here in schematic then again is all intent. All of the clearances or maybe the connection points aren't figured out yet, but that's where we start refining as we start moving in to the next phase. So now we're looking at our design development phase. So design development follows schematic design. In schematic design, you're working out again, the layout of the function, how do your spaces work, setting up the size of your floor plan, your units, how many can you get in there, how many does the client need. Now you'll see a little bit more detail being added. We start identifying 1 hour walls. We start adding furred walls, or what we call plumbing walls, to our kitchen areas. What we're looking at here are 2 kitchens sitting back to back. You'll notice the wall is quite a bit larger than the wall adjacent to it. Now it is shown as a giant void. As we get throughout the process, those will start being filled in with more information. But again, it's starting to really identify how much space is needed, making sure we're identifying how many layers of gyp go on our rated wall. I'm sorry, let me clarify, gyp board. Gypsum board is what that is when I refer to gyp. And that's how we achieve fire ratings. So one layer on each side is a 1 hour wall, 2 layers on each side is a 2 hour wall, 3 layers on each side, 3 hour. Once you get above 2 hour, you can start adding channels that kind of help you, or structural insulation. But again, here, what we're now working on in DD is making sure any design issues that the architect might have are resolved. We need to make sure that nothing leaves this phase without having resolution and design phase, so that when we're in construction documents, our budget isn't being eaten away on designers' revisions. For this project and this client, and this is a little odd, not too normal, but the floor plan keynotes you see have gone with the CSI format. I guess we left the screen, but here that's the Construction Specification Institute. So that it's quite a bit more difficult to identify items per the CSI. I really do not recommend it. It's essentially, they thought they would be smart by taking the specifications and somehow applying them to the floor plans, or I'm sorry, the construction documents. And in my opinion, it was a fail, but sometimes the client is always right. So what we're looking at here, if you can, Martin, this is the demolition sheets. So since we are an existing building, the city wants to know exactly what we're clearing away. It needs to be identified, and we do that. And so here by identifying as hatches, what's going to be completely cut in as a whole, what pieces are just going to be scraped of the face brick. So, again, the point here is working out any design issue that might be left and then coordinating it backwards with the existing building. If you want to look at the 300 sheets, oh, I'm sorry, Martin, you jumped a little bit. If we can stay in the DD, let's look at the 300s to take a look at our elevation and the level of information that we're starting to provide. So you should be somewhere in, I think, the maybe 40s or 50s on this set. There you go, 42. Great. So now we chose to leave color in our elevations. It's not always done, but in this case, we were fighting for this lime green. It's not really showing here, but this color ends up being like a sour apple green when it's all said and done. But what happened is the this is us getting our way, but the construction manager kept wanting to remove this thing, thinking that, it was going to cost, he didn't want to spend money on this film or the metal panel, but this guy fought it and we fought it. So we thought, well, we're going to go ahead and add color to our CDs. Again, how do you get your point across? How do you make an argument? Since we're in control of documents, we have a little freedom. So in this case, that's what you're seeing here. We chose to do. And this is design development. We thought this was the perfect time to say, we think this design element needs to stay. We sold it in the entitlement phase.
Is that, Jeff, indicated here on the material schedule?
I think it's like this MT. If you look at the thing, it's like if you go back, it'll tell you what it is. MT6. If you look at the elevation, it'll give you an MT number, a metal number. I didn't catch it off the top of my head. MT6. Yeah. Okay. So they were going to, kind of integrate that. But what I wanted to mention that I failed to mention about entitlements is when your entitlement set is improved, that initial design intent, the city planning department is holding you to that design. So the DD process is this phase where you are making sure that the design intent that was approved by the city is being met throughout your process, because you can't get into CDs with a project that looks 25% different than what you got approved by the city, or they'll reject you. And it is not a good feeling when they do that, and your client, to say the least, will not be happy. I've been in an office that we've done it, and yes, very bad repercussions. So what I've done here then to speed up our process is I jumped right from our 100% DD set to show you the 85% CD set. This is the level of documentation that needs to be provided to go into the city for first submittal. The city has the ability to reject anybody's project for lack of documentation. So if the city feels there is not enough information on your project, they can turn around and reject it to you and make you come back. And once they do that, you better believe that they're paying a lot more attention to your project on the next round. It's indicated here. If you look at those kitchens, Martine, you can now see that those walls now are clearly defined. Well, that's probably not the greatest example, but if you go to the building on the right-hand side of the screen, where we've now, clearly identified the pop out, as well as, there you go, your plumbing walls, the rating of the walls. So we've got the gaps all accounted for here. These are all coordinated now with the plumbing consultant. They've been coordinated with the contractor. We know what the building looks like in existing conditions. All of that has been taken into account before we come into the city with this.
One question, Jeff. Which type of construction system was that? Was this one?
Ooh, this one's an interesting project. So the exterior walls are all existing concrete with brick veneer, so face brick. Mm-hmm. The existing structure that you're looking at, those giant columns, they're all existing concrete columns, and the floor plates are all concrete. So this is all essentially a concrete building. Mm-hmm. That means all interior walls that we put up that are not structural are all metal stud. I think that would be more in alignment with your familiarity of the construction types in Argentina. But the small building on the left-hand side, the little kind of looks like a C, that's wood frame construction, and it's only 2 stories tall. So we got all project construction type on this one. We've got wood, we've got steel, we've got type 1 concrete as well. So this is our 85% CD progress. Now we've kind of gone through and helped identify in our materials a little better. I think this point we won our argument about using the CSI format for code, but we've got our finish schedule on here. So here, everything should be identified, accounted for. The contractor will be reviewing this set. So if something is wrong, you know, that gets pointed out to you. So you must coordinate, make sure you're following, you know, how does a building wrap the corner, that your paints are the same color. You know, sometimes people fail and look at, you know, each elevation as an individual 2D element. Always remember it's a 3D element, but we're architects, we know that.
Of course.
And then here is, again, the level of detail we're showing for our new construction. This is all siding and fiber cement boards. And here's all concrete and face brick.
So should we move to the 100% guy?
Sure, yes. So, and now what you saw there then is what you go into the city with, and this is what you come out with once you've answered all of their plan check comments. So the key here is legibility. You could, just zooming in this area, you could see the amount of information that goes into the drawing. We have call out boxes everywhere, line, dash lines, dash line, dash line, solid line. All of this has to be legible in some shape or form, that when you're in exactly this view that we're in now, we try not to overlap to the best we can. I think, you know, if you do overlap, make sure that your letters are legible. Sometimes
this is great work, man. This is great work.
Yeah.
Artistic also.
Yes, I'm glad you used that word. I believe that a set of documents is an artistry.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
You have to zoom in exactly like you were to lay things out. I mean, look at they should align. I did my best to align everything on the left-hand side. I tried to, you know, get them as close as you can. You try to make your room numbers align. Look at the restroom alignment. So just everything that you can to make a uniform document. This is it. This is kind of how it goes. You want to make everything as clear as you can. You want the least amount of plan check comments coming back from the city, the least amount of requests for information, RFIs, coming from the job site. As an architect, you are critiqued on that. The city is critiquing your performance. The city will talk about your architecture firm to other people. The client is critiquing you, comparing you to other projects that they've done. For this project, oh, why am I running blank on the, I believe, oh, Martine, help me out if you remember this, but it's something like, I think the number came for a $15 million project. You should have somewhere around 350 to 400 RFIs.
My God.
I've presented this information to Martine before. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. So for a $15 million project, once you start passing 400 RFIs, the contractor's kind of talking behind your back. The owner's kind of wondering what's going on. You know, if this project, I will admit this project had like, somewhere like 500 RFIs on this one. But it's existing building. You don't know a lot of things until you punch a hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. So granted, but if we would have hit 600,
that's bad.
They wouldn't want to talk to me anymore.
So we have this guy left the entitlement through permit floor plans.
So this is then a nice little document I went ahead and put together for you guys as just a short clip version. I just took a floor plan from each stage, and you can see then, you know, flipping through them, the kind of level of information that we're providing, how it starts solidifying here in the, you know, I believe the first one we saw entitlement, we saw SD, we're looking at the DD. So you can see now the walls are becoming a little bit more in tune. The spaces are being defined. Now you can see information populating. And then you see then, again, more information populating. And then when it's all said and done, you're going to see bubbles. You're going to see deltas, I call them bubbles, could call them clouds, revision clouds. But now you should see all of that information. Now you actually see, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the screen, you can't see that. But the architect stamp is finally on the drawing. So one thing that I believe is that the architect must never stamp the plans and sign those plans until it is ready for permit. Because, you know, we're handing out throughout this process, this is what, you know, could be, I think this was an 8-month process of creating documents. And, you know, you're sending documents to several different people for estimates. So someone's going to always have an outdated set. So the best plan is, until you have a 4 construction set, do not allow that architect to apply his signature until it's ready. So, and sometimes, you know, the city will say, for your first submittal to the city, your plans must be stamped and signed. I go into that city and I'm willing to take that as a plan check correction. They won't reject your plans. They'll just make it a plan check correction. But before I give you a permit, you must have a stamped set of drawings. And I say, well, when you stop giving me comments on my final set that I submit to you, I'll stamp and sign it. And then it can go into record and I can issue that to my client and my contractor. So
Jeff, quick question to end this, and really thank you for your presentation. It's very clear for us the amount of effort that consumes to prepare a document. So when you mention between 8 months for this project is from DDs, starting DDs through?
I would say starting schematic design.
Schematic through 100% CDs.
Well, yes, there is a caveat. I'm just going to say yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
So the entitlement process took about 1.5 years.
But you're not working there. You're waiting for the.
You're waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting. Yeah. So I like to say the process really starts at your schematic design, because now you're able to work on your project. You know, I'm not going to say legally. You can legally always work on it, but legitimately you can move forward. So it is going to be 8 months to go from my schematic design through my city.
Perfect. And the second and last question is, which of these phases is the one with most coordination between all the disciplines involved in a project, like DD, CD?
It is, I would say that it should all be resolved in your DD for design intent, but I would say most of your coordinated time is your second half of your design development and then their first half of your CDs. So those kind of, you know, while you're getting ready to transition, and once you've transitioned, that's where you find most of your consultant coordination happening. You know, some consultants need, you know, your structure to be completely resolved, your architecture to be completely resolved before they can, you know, start running their disciplines in those spaces. So that's why that's happening towards later CD. So you can see that, you know, it gets pretty intensive, but you should have, your ideal goal would be after 50%. All of that coordination should be completed, because you really need to focus on properly documenting to get into the city.
Okay, so it's perfect. Again, thank you. I appreciate that you have this time for us and you share all your expertise with us. So thank you, man.
No problem. Anytime for you, Martin. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You guys have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Awesome.